The Appalachia is a 205,000 square mile region in the eastern United States, extending from southern New York to northern Mississippi, following the Appalachian Mountains. It includes the 13 states of New York, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia, North and South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Ohio. Prior to 1700, the first population to settle in the Appalachian region was the Shawnee and Mingo Native American tribes. They claimed the area known today as West Virginia. The colonies moved south, relocating themselves as far as Alabama. Later, they moved back to Kentucky, Ohio, Illinois, and Virginia. The Cherokee tribe claimed the area around the South Ohio River, crossing Kentucky into Tennessee, South Georgia, and the Carolinas. Like other Native American tribes, the Cherokee men hunted, fished, and gathered food. The women took care of the farms, where they grew corn, beans, squash, sunflower, and tobacco. Some of these vegetables, like corn and beans, had their origin in Mexico. In the mid-1500s, the first immigrants arrived. They were the early European expeditions led by the Spaniards Hernando de Soto, 1540, and Juan Pardo, 1567. Both expeditions also included African American slaves. These new arrivals were transitions and did not make an impact in the region. At first, they came to trade, then to hunt, and eventually to settle in the region. After the Spanish, new immigrant English, Scottish, and Irish settlers arrived in the mountains in the early 1700s. This new group came to the region mostly for economic reasons. The main point of entry was Philadelphia. The English settlers contributed with basic institutions such as government, legal courts, and the English language. The Scotch-Irish, mostly descendants of 17th century Presbyterian immigrants, left their land, in many cases, due to increasing poverty, famine, and depression in Ireland. Some were also driven out because of religious persecution. Other immigrants were Germans, Dutch, French, Welsh, and Scots. African American immigrants also entered the region as slaves. The Treaty of 1832 removed all the Shawnee to the west, and some of them went into hiding among the Cherokees. In 1837, the Treaty of New Echota was signed, and the federal troops removed the Cherokees from the southern Appalachian states. This is what we know as the Trail of Tears. Some went into hiding in the hills of Carolinas. After the Civil War, the area began the transformation from subsistence farming to commercial agriculture. This change increased the need for seasonal migrant workers who were willing to work for low wages. During planting and harvesting season, the need for labor increased, and farmers recruited workers who lived around the mountains. Later, some families came from the south, and they moved from place to place doing the migrant work. The Hispanic immigration began in 1942 when President Franklin D. Roosevelt created the Braceros program. This was an exchange program between the United States and Mexico for the importation of temporary contract laborers from Mexico to the United States to work in the farms. The program ended in 1964, but most of the workers stayed in the country and continued doing the migrant work. Many of those workers came into the Appalachia from Cuba, Mexico, and elsewhere in Latin America. During the spring and summer, the migrant workers went north in the mountains to harvest apples, peaches, pumpkins, tobacco, blueberries, and many other crops. They returned during the end of the fall-winter planting season. These workers brought with them not only their families, but also set up businesses and services for the new immigrants. Small towns now have abarrotes, small grocery stores, Mexican restaurants, panaderias, bread stores, local doctors' offices with Spanish-speaking employees, auto repair shops, and many other small businesses to accommodate the demands of the Latino families. Many local churches began to create programs to serve the Latino community like food pantry, clothes drives, English classes, health fairs, food drives, tutoring programs, and health clinics. The migrant families are among the poorest residents in the Appalachian region. Soon, poultry and meat processing companies established large factories, one of the biggest employers of migrant workers in the region. The Latino migrants also brought their culture, and in many towns in the Appalachia, it is common for Mexican families to celebrate quinceañeras, a traditional celebration of the daughter's 15th birthday. Religious traditions are a big part of the Latino families, especially the Mexicans. Celebrations like Día de los Muertos, 12th of December, Día de la Virgen de Guadalupe, Easter, Via Crucis, and Posadas for Christmas are common today. Whitfield County in Georgia, also called the carpet capital of the world, is one of the fastest growing Latino communities out of the 420 federally recognized Appalachian counties. In Whitfield County, the Hispanic population is 32%. In the 1980s, the Hispanic population increased dramatically as a result of readily available jobs in the rapidly growing carpet industry. Dalton City Schools is the first school district in the Appalachian region with more than 50% Hispanic enrollment in the year 2000. According to the 2000 census, the Latino community constitutes 1.7% of the Appalachian region. The population varies from county to county, being greater in urban areas than rural areas, depending on the availability of jobs. In reality, many of the Latinos in Appalachia are not agricultural workers anymore. The Latinos are also filling in low-paying jobs in factories, poultry processing plants, landscaping, restaurant and hotel sectors, construction, and daily wage jobs. However, some Latinos who have been settled since many years are also business owners, restaurateurs, tradesmen, supervisors, and clerks. Some others, mostly of the younger generation, have become professionals with degrees and work as doctors, accountants, lawyers, teachers, social workers, real estate agents, and journalists, among other professions. Many counties in Appalachia now have a generation of Latino-born children who in their majority are bilingual, fluent in both English and Spanish, and some also speak dialects from their own country. In 2011, 16% of enrolled students in Dalton State College were Latinos and are the largest minority in the college. Therefore, the Latinos are the new immigrants of the Appalachian region, adding to the cultural richness and diversity of the area.